Hey y'all, my name is Miriam and it's time to paint. So grab your paintbrushes and let's get started. Today I'm taking you behind the scenes on this painting here, or at least this work in progress here. This is part one of a two-part video where I take you through everything, starting with the reference photo, composition, colors, and we'll eventually get all the way to the finished product. Mainly the point of this video is to help you guys get inside of my head and share what I'm thinking throughout each part of the process and why I make the decisions that I do. We'll talk about handling problems that may arise throughout the process, what to do when you change your mind. We'll talk about rendering, brushes, colors, all of that. Now, this video would not be possible without all of my patrons out there, so thank you everyone who has subscribed over on Patreon. Truly appreciate you guys. These videos wouldn't be possible. And I'll stop rambling right now and let's get into it. Now, for this reference photo process, you can see I'm a little crazy. You have to have a vision in mind. And mind you, I'm not sticking 100% to the reference. I just want something to reference as I'm going through it. So that's why I have I do a lot of layers. I will improvise with fabric. It doesn't have to be completely 100% how you want it in the photo is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So the hair is a little crazy. My idea for this image, for this painting, is a lot of angular shapes. I want to do, I'll probably accentuate my hair in the painting, do a lot of angles, stuff like that. I typically like a triangular composition. A lot of my paintings have that. And so I always kind of have that in my mind. Now let's talk about actual setup. For this, I am using a DSLR camera. Actually, it's a mirrorless camera. It's right off, it's right next to you guys, right next to my camera. And right above me, it's kind of blinding me at the moment, is it's just a really cheap ring light. You guys can see. Okay, so I just have a cheap ring light setup. Now, I'm going to be using my phone as my remote trigger for my camera. It's really cool. It lets me see live. So what I do is I set my phone up here, put it on a self timer, hit my focus button, get all my settings and lighting right, and then use the phone as the remote trigger. Now, most camera brands do have that option, so check it out for whatever camera you may be using. Now, you can also just use your phone. I use my phone a lot for reference photos. However, for this one, I am going to be painting fairly large, so I want as much detail in my reference photo as I can get, so that's why I'm using a mirrorless camera. So I will show you some of the pictures, and I'll also show you what the difference between a reference photo with my iPhone versus the DSLR or the mirrorless camera looks like, okay? So we're gonna get started. Now, one of the things you wanna watch out for when taking your reference photos is controlling your light. I typically like a single light source, okay? So that's why I have the ring light. I have my windows. That's cardboard. I have all the natural light, most of the natural light blocked out in my studio. Now, I do have a computer here next to me. This is my computer desk. So I want to make sure I'm going to turn off the computer light, okay, so that no light is reflecting onto my face. I also, if you guys see this is a super bright or super white desk. My light is actually hitting off of it and bouncing back on. So do you guys see I have a shadow under my neck? It's pretty dark right here, but it gets lighter here, and that's because of the reflected light. So sometimes I will try and block out a bit of that, and you can see that helps with, do you guys see the difference in the reflected light? Okay, you guys know I love that trick. Okay, so I'm gonna try and block that out. Sometimes things slide and slip, especially when I'm just improvising here. I'm not very strict when I'm taking my reference photos, is what I'm trying to say. These are the things that are going through my mind, but once I'm actually in the process, we go a lot on vibes, okay? I do have lots of fabrics that I keep next to me. that I'll pull out for photos. I just think it's fun to paint with. So I always have those next to me. Okay, I'll stop talking. I'm gonna take the photos now and I'll come back and show you what we end up with. Now, this is the other thing. Don't be afraid to use yourself as a reference. You don't need to make the final painting look like you if you don't want to. You can always change and alter the facial features. But it's good to at least play around. It helps you understand the lighting and helps you understand composition when you're doing it yourself. So don't be afraid. You got to get over the cringe of dressing up and taking photos of yourself. All right. We'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, so here are some of the reference photos that I took. I ended up going with this one, okay, and I removed the background, mocked up the color that I wanted to go with, at least what I had in my mind at the time. The dimensions of my canvas are 2x3. It's a 24-inch by 36-inch canvas. So I wanted something long, and like I said, I wanted to play with angles. So I ended up with that reference. Now, I also said I wanted to show you the difference between the reference photos on my iPhone versus my mirrorless. Now, I think there's a big difference. And I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I use iPhone references all the time. It just depends on what I'm going to use it for. And I think you guys can see the difference in how each captures the light. Now, when you're painting, light is the most important thing. That's what you're doing, is capturing light on forms. And you want to make the light the star. So, all right, let's get started. All right, so we just took the reference photo. It's pretty big. Here's where we ended up. And now I'm ready to get to work on my canvas. Now this is a linen, oil primed linen. It's already pre-primed, so all I need to do was open up the package and get started. I love working on the oil primed linen. It's a really smooth surface. And yeah, they're my favorite to work with lately. So this is a 24 by 36 inch canvas. So I'm making sure that my reference photo is the same exact dimensions as my canvas before I get started. It's gonna help me when I'm eyeballing stuff and placing things in, that I am getting all my dimensions correct. For the background, now I've kind of marked out this gray. It's a little blue. I want it more of a natural warmish gray. So what I'm going to be doing is using a combination of my oil sticks for the background. Now there's a few reasons why I want to do this. One, they take forever to dry. So what that's going to do is allow me over the next few days to really work on smooth transitions between my background and my subject. Now, since this is such a big painting, I'm going to need that time to do that. It's already pretty late in the day for me as far as painting goes. I have 3 little kids that are gonna be coming home from school soon. So my hours for today are already limited on what I can do, and I don't want my paint drying on me before I can kind of unify my background with my subject. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm also, so I have this black, but you can see it's not absorbing all light. We can still see a lot of form on the black of the dress in the picture, but for now I'm gonna block it all in solid black, and then I'm gonna go in later with just like a slightly lighter black and just make very slight indications of the form. I'm not gonna spend my time painting every fold and detail of the dress. I'm gonna make things easy on myself, okay? So that's what you're gonna see me do. Also, for the skin, I am going to do a pretty neutral grayed owl skin tone. Just what I have in mind for this one. It's almost more of a somber kind of feel. I want the tones to match that. So 3 things I'm gonna be blocking in. It's gonna be really super simple. Gray background, black dress, gray skin tones. So let's get started. Okay, so what the heck am I doing? I've got a ton of scribbles on here. Well, there's a few practical reasons for why I'm doing it this way. One, these oil pigment sticks are pretty limited in the colors that they offer, and they don't have the exact color that I want for the background that I have in mind, so I need to build it. I am trying to create this neutral warm gray. We're really warm right now, so I'm gonna keep adding in some cooler colors. Now, so far I've used 3 colors. I've used just neutral gray medium, Payne's gray, and burnt sienna. And what I really like about this is, okay, I have no medium, no thinner or anything. This is just the oil pigment sticks right out of the tube. And you can see they're really super buttery to work with, okay? And so I'm just swirling my paintbrush right now to kind of mix everything, cover. And what I like about this process is the texture that it leaves behind. It really highlights the texture of the linen, and I like that. I want more of, you know, I want the background to not feel so thick and opaque. At least that's the goal for right now. Who knows, things might change as I get into it and have to problem solve things. But that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm building up the color, building up texture. I'm not using any sort of medium or thinner. I could use thinner at this stage to help me apply the product at this moment. But as I mentioned before, I don't want to speed up the drying time. I want to unify my background and my subject, all those edges as much as possible. And I really just need everything to be as workable for as long as possible. Like if I could have this paint wet and workable for the next 5 days, it would make me so happy. It's not gonna happen. But that's the kind of stuff that's going through my mind right now and why this is looking like it is. So right now I'm just trying to fill in all the negative space with my background. Now I'm not too concerned about being exact. If I go over anywhere, that's okay, because remember, I'm gonna be blending all of it together anyways on my edges, my hair. I want the hair to melt into the background. So it's okay. It's actually better if we go a little too far into our subject versus having a gap in color there. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so I'm gonna put on time-lapse mode. We're gonna finish out the background. I need to add a lot more, I wanna add some more darker, cooler tones in it. This is super warm, but you know, all right. I'll stop talking. All right, you guys are gonna see a lot of time-lapse mode and a lot of real-time painting today. Now, I'm not gonna artificially speed up anything more than it is when I filmed it. So that being said, feel free to skip, feel free to fast forward, put me on double speed, doesn't matter to me, or you can watch it how it is. I won't be offended, but I'm leaving it up to you guys today. Now, the other thing that I wanna point out is while you're watching this and you're seeing me do this, I get a lot of questions about going straight to the canvas with paint and not sketching out anything beforehand. I have a full video on this up on YouTube, all about eyeballing stuff and how I go straight to the canvas with my paint. So if you want to be able to do the same, you want to know more about that process, check out that video. All right, so I just finished my first pass at the background. I quite like the texture and the look of it. I think it looks pretty natural, and there's some nice variation in color and warmer and cooler tones. And my goal would be to preserve as much of this as possible moving forward. That just means I need to be a little more exact than I normally am. Sorry, battery's running low. Sorry, thought I was recording. Turned out it just stopped because the battery's too low. But as you can see, I didn't do much. I just scribbled in some paint using the oil paint sticks where generally I thought the placement of these features were gonna go. It's always my first step. I know it looks like chaos. I enjoyed this part of the process. It's the funnest part for me, just to get loose on the canvas. And really what I'm doing the whole time I'm looking at my reference photo is squinting my eyes. It's so important. I squint down all the time. Squint my eyes, and I'm just trying to copy where the lights and the darks are and general color. All right, so I've got this initial kind of block in local color layer. Let me get you guys closer. Let's see if we get a little closer just so you can see. Okay, you can see it's really rough. I just started to blend. I want to show you guys what that process looks like. Okay, so I'm just going in and really concentrating my efforts where all of these edges are. I don't care about my colors mixing right now. I don't care about muddy colors. All I want is to start to show form. And already we're starting to do that. Do this cheekbone here. That's gonna come up a bit. I mean, already it's not bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm just gonna keep repeating the process, blending. I'm gonna pay a lot of attention to the hairline. I've talked about it before. Let me put you guys back. The hairline is one of those places where if you can nail it in your first go, the color's wet into wet, it's gonna work very well for you. Okay, so let's do it. All right, up until this point, I'm still just using the oil pigment sticks. Haven't added any normal oil paints or thinner or medium. I'm just using that limited kind of palette of colors. I know these colors are not going to be my final colors, and it's never my goal to lay down the final color in my first go. I really think of it as building up color on the canvas. So at this point, I'm really just more focused on building form, getting my values right, and I'll start to think about color more and more as we go on in the process and as I build up those layers. All right, so it's later in the day. I changed out of my reference dress. And we've gone pretty far. We've got like the first kind of map down, right? We've got some semblance of form, enough that I can see in my mind, or I can feel the shapes in my mind, that this feels real to me. If I know from your angle, it doesn't look like it. But if I squint my eyes when I'm looking at this, I can feel a tangible sense of form. That's what I'm looking for, a tangible sense of form that feels like, it feels that if I were to put my hand here, it would hit this cheekbone further than that. That has nothing to do with my painting and has everything to do with how I'm processing it in my mind, right? this just helps me get there in my mind. So now that I'm at this point where this feels tangible, it now becomes a lot easier that I can start adjusting these shapes. Oh, paint's still wet, which is a good thing, but not when I'm touching the canvas. Okay, so I can start adjusting these shapes because right now it very much has my facial structure, okay? My facial features, my proportions, because that's what I was using as my reference. But I don't necessarily want this to look, I don't want it to be a self-portrait. Sure, there might be some resemblance to me in the end, but I don't want it to be an exact copy. So now I'm gonna go in and start carving these shapes as if, and in my mind, I'm approaching this exactly as if I would a sculpture, okay? Taking it bit by bit, adding, subtracting, pushing things back into space and moving things further out into space. A few things that I know I want to do. I have a very round, full face down here. I'll probably carve in some cheekbones, you know, bring in this area right here. I also have, I have a pretty short nose. I might elongate the nose. I might bring in the chin a little bit, so it's just not so round. And that's just, that's not because I don't like my features. It's just because I don't want it to necessarily look just like me, okay? Again, I'm just using myself as the reference for the pose and the general proportions. So that's what you're gonna see me do right now. And who knows, maybe it will still just end up looking like me. I genuinely never know what my final painting is going to look like, but it's fun. The process is fun.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby, and twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just twist your body and mine. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly.
All right, so this is where I have it so far. This is the first pass. I changed some of the facial features, although I don't know if I changed them as much as I wanted to. I did play around with the eye placement, tried out different ways of her looking, but I think I like her looking in this direction the best, so I moved that back. Now, everything that you've seen so far has all been the oil pigment sticks, okay? This is all oil pigment sticks, no thinner, no medium. So now I'm gonna start adding in some regular oil paints. Again, I'm not gonna use any thinner, no medium for this, not with the pigment sticks. And I'm gonna try to preserve as much of the background as possible.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby, and twist myself up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get ahead of my time. Oh, but I don't wanna miss you, baby. So I stand up and speak just my mind.
All right, so it's the next morning. This is day 2, morning of day 2. The paint is still workable, but it's starting to dry. So my clock is ticking. There comes a point in the drying process where the paint becomes sort of tacky and it creates texture issues. And I want to avoid that as much as possible. But we are approaching that, so I kind of need to work fast. Now, also, now that I can see this on the canvas, see the scale, there's a lot of things that are popping out to me. One, the background is not going to work. The background is way too light and too warm. It's competing a lot with the skin tone. I think if we darken the background and make it a lot cooler, it's going to make the skin pop. So that's on my mind right now. I want to make the hair a little bigger, a little more shapely. And this chair that I was sitting on, I might remove it completely or darken it. So those are the kinds of things that are going through my mind. Now you can see this is still very blocky. There's really like no, I would be hesitant to call anything detailed at this stage. I'm still just really kind of sculpting it out, finding the form, trying to make it feel alive, not by being detailed, but by having tangible form. Remember, we're trying to connect sight with touch in a tangible sense. I know that sounds crazy. I know that doesn't really make sense, but that's how you want to approach your paintings, your drawings, anything. In order for you to create the illusion of form, you need to buy into that illusion yourself. It will make your work 10 times more realistic. And not that realism is the goal. I mean, realistic in the effect that you're trying to create. And it'll also make your work 10 times easier to do. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's what you're gonna see me do. I'm gonna, at some point, get in a darker background, do the hair, and then I think that's going to help me really judge all my values, really bring this to life without doing too much just yet. All right, that's it. All right, so the brush strokes are atrocious. The chair is atrocious. Um, but I think it changed the whole vibe and it accomplished what I wanted, which was to make the skin tones pop. I didn't want to go vibrant. I still want this really pale, kind of gray skin. And in order to get that to pop, I needed the background to get a lot deeper, a lot darker. And you can see I added a lot of color into it. Now the paint is still really wet. It's very slippery, so you can see all the crazy brush strokes in it. I'm gonna wait for that to dry a little bit more, to get just a little stiff, not tacky, but a little more stiff. That way I can blend it all in very naturally. Now that the background is a lot darker, I gotta make the hair darker and richer too. But I think now I'm on the right track with it and I'm starting to get excited about where it's going. So yeah, as far as next steps, I think I'm gonna need to go in, darken up a lot of the shadows in the face, darken up that hair, and start rendering this mess. It's kind of crazy, just the blocking, but yeah, that's it. All right, so it's been less than an hour since we were at this stage. Now, I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. I think it has a lot of potential, but I want to push some of the things composition-wise. I told you guys in the beginning I had this idea for I really wanted to emphasize the angles, you know? And so we're just gonna do that right now. I'm just doing it with a little bit of lamp black at the moment. Okay. And literally just gonna push where a lot of these angles are. We're just gonna push it. And do I care if it's 100% anatomically correct? Like if the shoulder really goes out that far? No, I don't care at all. I'm more concerned about the composition and what the viewer, what direction the viewer is being pulled in when they view this, okay? Okay, so we got boom, boom, all right? And we're gonna follow this out this way, boom, okay? And then I mentioned before I didn't know how I feel about the chair. I'm gonna get rid of the chair. And I might bring out this arm a little bit here too. Just really emphasize those angles. We might even bring this out a little bit more too. All right, so I'm gonna fix this area here. I think I just want to get rid of the chair. I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it in the phone screen, do I want to keep the chair? Do I want to remove it? It might be weird if there's no chair there. You know what? I think I want to keep it, but I want to darken it. I want it to almost match this, and then we'll just do a rim. We'll just indicate very lightly that the chair is there, but that's what we're gonna do right now. I think my mind is decided. We'll see. All right, so here we are with it so far. It's still pretty rough. I'm gonna work on this eye, and I wanna get you guys up close. But I do just wanna show y'all, it's not like from a distance, it looks more smooth than it really is. All right, so when we get up close, you can see there honestly is not much detail at all. Okay, it's just when we pull back, let's see if I can get that to focus. It's just when we pull back, it starts to look more detailed. So I'm going to show you how I would approach this eye. And as you can see, let's get really close. It's really just kind of blocked in. This is more of a symbolic drawing of an eye. I've got one color for the upper lid, basically one color for the lower, one for the whites, and one for the colored part. So let's fix it. All right, it's the next morning. Everything is mostly dry. I'd say it's about 80% dry. There's a few areas, I was just testing with the paintbrush. There's a few areas that are tacky, and so I'm gonna avoid those areas. If I were to paint over those areas, sometimes it ends up lifting more paint than putting paint down. It creates weird, and actually you can see this is one of my test areas right here. I just went to paint into that area and it just ended up lifting the paint. And so you don't, I want to avoid that when the paint is too sticky. But most of the skin, most of the facial features are pretty dry. So I'm going to just keep working on those. I would say the shape of everything. I have everything in place, probably about 90% right now. I know the hair, I want to make it a little more natural in areas. That means I'm going to break up the edges in those places. I need to soften some of the edges with the skin. This whole dress is going to get a layer of black. You can see there's a ton of white or light colors mixed in, making this look gray. So we're gonna fix that, and then eventually I am gonna tone down the green a tad bit and just deepen, I'd say enrich the background. So maybe I might go in with more of like a glaze later on. I don't know, but those are the kinds of thoughts that are going through my mind right now. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. Also, I'm gonna work on the hands today. They're still really blocky. This is just kind of like, you know, a map of what I'm going to do later on. But I have pretty much the boundaries intact for those. So let me get you guys up close just for now, so you can see where we're at, okay? So it's not super smooth yet, but we do have form, right? We have at least the semblance of form so far. Let me show you the hands. They're really blocky, okay? I'll get you, see how close I can get you, okay? Oh, the other thing that I want to do, speaking of color, the lips are way too red for me. I want to tone down the red at some point. I might need to wait for that to fully dry before I can do that. Right now it's reading to red and green for me, which isn't bad, but I don't want that to, I want the skin to be the focus of this painting. And I quite like the colors when you get up close on it. And I don't want any of the other colors to distract from it. I want it only to enhance it. So still haven't figured out what I want to do with the chair. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna put it in time-lapse mode and you guys are just gonna see me go through it. Now, as far as brushes, I have 4 brushes right now that I plan on working with. This is the largest brush at the moment. It's a size 10 flat. The other ones are smaller. I've got my mini mop so that I can blend out any edges that I want. I have a really tiny brush that I'm gonna be using when I'm working in those facial features. And this one, I have really been loving. This is a size 6 round brush. I've just been loving this lately, and I've been using this a whole lot. So yeah, I'm gonna get into it. Oh, lastly, let me just show you my palette real quick, okay? So here's the palette. I just set this up and you can see this was when I was going in and just testing I mixed up just a few colors to test and see how workable the paint on the canvas still was. Okay, I do have a little bit of medium on here. I haven't used it yet. And if I can get through today without using it, that would be great. I want to get everything. My goal is to get everything done, everything in place without any medium, if I can. And then I will use the medium in later stages to help create different effects with the paint. So whether I want to just tone down an area, adjust the colors, glaze in some color, you know, stuff like that. But I don't, it's just too early for me to introduce a lot of medium at this stage. So far I haven't used any thinner, any medium at all on this painting. This is just the paint sticks and paint straight out of the tube as it is. I like to, this is just my preference. One, I like the texture and the look of the paint out of the tube. Two, it simplifies things for me. I don't have to, because I don't paint in a linear fashion, it can be hard to keep track of areas of, okay, what was my thinner to medium ratio or medium to paint ratio in this area and versus this area. So instead of me trying to keep track of all that, typically I just remove myself from that situation completely and try and get as much done without it. And then once I start the process of introducing any sort of medium, that's when I do need to mentally keep track of it, how much I'm putting into areas. And I'd rather my painting all be at the same point once I do introduce the medium. You know what I mean? Again, it just makes it easier so I don't have to keep track of stuff. Okay, now I'll get started. All right, so we're looking at the hands right now, and I'm comparing it to my reference. Now, I've got my paint. You can see I just mixed up, you know, this is a pretty opaque paint that I've just mixed up. And I'm just going in and I'm just kind of heavy-handedly laying down color and adjusting shape as I need it. I'm not really concerned with blending at the moment. Once I have all my colors down and everything is like wet and workable again, then I'll start thinking about blending and everything like that. But right now, my only goal is just placing down color and making sure the new color that I place down is at least more accurate than the previous color. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep doing that. All right, it's a few minutes later and we're still just kind of placing in the paint, but I'm almost at a point where I'm ready to start rendering and blending all these colors together. So I just wanted to show you what that looks like before I start the rendering. All right, before I start rendering, I also want to show you what I'm going to be looking at while I'm blending out these values and colors. And that is a posterized view. Okay, so you can see it has all the values broken down. Okay, I've shown you guys this before, but I can't stress how helpful this is. I do it on the face. I do it all the time. I love looking at my reference photo broken down into its value groups. I also like to be able to change the number of value groups, okay? So like what I just showed you was 9 value groups. Let me show it to you in 4. Okay, so you can see how different. Now, what I like to use this for as well is knowing what direction to blend, okay? So if in one view my highlight has one shape and in a view with less value groups it has a different shape, well, I'm gonna blend it from the smaller shape into the larger shape. Does that make sense? So let me just, okay. Okay, so back to the, do you see where the lightest value is? See right there, there. So I have those shapes, right? I would place it into a small little group. And then now let's look at it with less values. Those same highlights are now bigger. That's the direction and shape that I'm gonna blend out into. All right. This is really helpful when you're working with complicated shapes like fingers and hands, and you want to make sure you get it all right. So don't be afraid to pull out digital tools to help you. All right. All right, it's been about 4 or 5 minutes, okay? And you guys just saw that whole process of me blending out the colors according to the directions of my posterized view of my reference. Does this look good at this point? No, it's still pretty crazy. But that was just 5 minutes. I always do that. Okay. Sorry, touch the white canvas. So I'm just going to repeat the process. And now I'm also going to be putting more emphasis on form as I go through. I'm also going to switch to, I'm going to use this brush, my round. And as I am doing this next layer, I'm going to be painting in the direction of the form, okay? Thinking about those contour lines as I'm painting. It's just going to help emphasize the roundness. I mean, they look like little sausages right now. And so we want to make the fingers look more shapely. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, I just darkened up the lips. I'm feeling good about the hands so far. They still need a lot of work, especially this forearm. But I'm liking it so far. This is day 2.5 on this. And yeah, this is the end of part 1. So if you've made it this far and watching, thank you. And again, a huge thank you to all of my folks over on Patreon. These videos wouldn't be possible without y'all. And thanks for watching. Happy painting.